in front of me is the date at which it closes. It is available on our website. It's available on Combine. So anyone that would like to respond to that procurement, we'd obviously encourage them to do so.
Okay.
But that's, I think, the next procurement that may come before the commission as far as closing things up.
Great.
And that's really the other big announcement I just wanted
Okay.
to make. But
That's great. Thank you for that's obviously a very important addition to our capabilities, so I appreciate your leadership on that.
I failed to mention as well the responsible vendor training application is now live on the commission's portal. That went live as of this morning. And so that'll be something we are evaluating on an ongoing basis, which is why I think the program coordinator is at the tip of my priority list, because similar to a lot of projects that are going on at the commission, that is being supported by a number of staff that also have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And we'd like to make sure they're able to focus on those things, as well as support a lot of the back-end support needed to respond to, compile, and evaluate applications for that program. Knowing it's a priority, we're happy to do that, but also realizing that it's becoming there's a lot of projects that are going on across the commission. We just need to coordinate ourselves a bit better. And that's, I think, a tool we'd like to use. At the same time, that program is moving forward. We're proud of the application and hope that folks will consider applying to be vendors.
Great.
So the next
Commissioner
report.
Tuttle? Excuse me, Executive Director. Commissioner Tuttle?
Sorry, I was just wondering, is there a due date for those applications, or is it ongoing?
It's an ongoing process. What I'd like to, it's an ongoing, there's no deadline to submit an application. It'll be rolling. From time to time or periodically, the commission will consider those applications to essentially certify or accredit the curriculum, and those vendors to then be available as certified responsible vendor trainers. But there is no deadline as of today. I think it's something we want to make sure, get a sense of what the scope of that looks like too, and really get a sense of the workload. But at this point, we would encourage anyone to review the application and see if it's something that might fit for their needs.
Right. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to renewals. And again, we have, I don't know that I did a full count of them, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 plus or minus that we have. Before we actually consider those applications, Mr. Executive Director, I know the staff has written a memo in terms of the process for consideration as renewals. Again, we discussed at a high level this process and the requirements for renewal at a commission meeting many months ago, if I remember correctly. But would you care to just give a highlight of what was circulated amongst the commissioners earlier this week around the renewal process, and then we can get into the individual applications?
Sure, thank you. So I think, first off, as you indicated, this is, we're hitting a phase of the commission's licensing process where folks that were first considered for provisional license are now coming back for their annual renewal. As you know, the licenses are annually issued by the commission. So a number of months ago, we proposed as a staff and launched an application for adult use in the cannabis industry portal, where applicants or licensees at that point were notified that their licenses were set to expire, and 60 days prior is when they are to apply for that renewal. Within that application, there's a number of things that we're collecting from both a substantive requirement standpoint, but also an ongoing data collection standpoint. And those things include and provide the applicant or the licensee the ability to update any personal information. And this is an example of if the email address or phone number has changed, it gives them the opportunity to update that information. Updating their background information, which includes, as you know, suitability is an ongoing matter and it's something that the commission will consider as an ongoing item. But if there has been anything that has occurred in the intervening year, this would be a chance for them to update that and supply that information to the commission. Updating any summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. Again, this is something that any applicant or any licensee can update at any time. This provides them another avenue to do that. Providing updated certificates of good standing. These are from the Department of Revenue, the Secretary of State, as well as the Department of Unemployment Assistance. We do seek them, we request that it be within 90 days of submitting to us to make sure that they're current on those obligations to the Commonwealth. Providing the amount of funds that have gone to the municipality stemming from their HCA. This is a direct regulatory requirement and trying to capture that information. A description of their progress toward their positive impact and diversity goals. And then also a description and documentation of that progress. Information relative to their cultivation, if it's a cultivator or a craft cooperative, which speaks to the commission's ability and discretion to relegate if necessary, or if it so chooses. A list of information on products that are being produced, as well as any photos that may be relevant to that, and that's, I think, an ongoing request of the commission to get a sense of what is actually out there as products and start to develop a bit of a catalog relative to that. And of course, the annual license fee as we are to collect that upon renewal. So once all that information, again, that's available through the Cannabis Industry Portal, Kyle Potvin, our Director of Licensing, and his team will compile that information and make it available to the commission for your consideration. On the medical side, it's a bit different as of today because
So what you just went through is specifically applicable to
that
adult
is
use?
applicable to adult use licenses and all license types within the adult use market. The medical program is a bit different. Again, that's something we intend to, in future iterations of the portal, to really bring under one process and one roof. That is a 2-page renewal application with primarily contact information, attestations, and lastly, the annual license fee. What we then do as a staff, and when I say we, I really mean Kyle and his team, that information is compiled and is evaluated in the sense of is it complete for the commission to consider. Something, for instance, in the typical application process for provisional license, there may be a need to reopen an application to submit more compliant information or to finesse certain requirements. Here, it's more of a, we're collecting this information. Our intention is not to reopen it. We want to collect information as it is and as the applicant identifies, or as the licensee, I should say, identifies it. So we then review those things and provide it to you as we have today for your consideration. The commission in both, well, based on law as well as the commission's regulations, have identified the reasons for which a license renewal may be or could be denied.
Right.
Again, the ultimate discretion for that resides and relies upon the commission's consideration. So you have before you a number of license renewals that have been processed through that process or been managed through that process. And of course, Kyle is available if you have any
Sure.
questions relative to
Okay.
it. But try to give you a reminder of what we're collecting at this point, and I think to facilitate your discussion today.
Thank you very much. What I'm going to suggest before we actually get into, I think there, if I counted correctly, 13 adult use renewal applications and 8 medical, before we get into the discussion and vote on those. Any comments or questions about the process that the executive director just went through?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Doyle.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for the hard work that you've done on this, because I know it was quite a lift. I just want to flag one thing, not only for our own team, but also for those present who are applicants or watching who are applicants or those who represent applicants or licensees. One bit of information that I think we do need to be mindful about collecting is information about what local permits the licensees have secured and whether or not they expire, because some local permits can be time limited and some run with the land or with the property or however long the applicant wants to use them. And the reason that we need to get that information either through the inspections process or through the renewal process is when an applicant is provisionally licensed, they often don't necessarily know all of the local permits that they need to get. They often go through that after they're provisionally licensed with us. They may have a reasonable idea, but they may not know everything. So I think to make sure that we have a complete picture of what local permits they have and whether or not there's a clock ticking on any of them, one fail-safe is to make sure that that is collected either through the renewal or inspections process. So I just wanted to flag that particular issue.
Great catch. Commissioner McBride.
I also wanted to flag something that I was remiss in not catching when we talked about the guidance on renewals back in April, and that is submission of information regarding patient supply and the conservation of patient supply, and making sure that there is an adequate supply and what the policies and procedures are. So I would suggest that...
Co-located.
For co-located, right, I'm sorry, yeah, and specific to co-located. So I would suggest that this be added in a couple of places. One is in our guidance, and I think that it's fairly easy to add it into the guidance. The second is upon renewal collecting information, and as we get into consideration of the renewals, there are a couple of conditions that I would suggest that we can discuss. And just to kind of point out that this dovetails in many ways with our existing authority to audit on patient supply and adequacy. So we can talk about that further when we get into the actual renewals.
Great. Let me ask, if I could, the Executive Director, or perhaps our licensing team, your thoughts on the issues raised by Commissioner Doyle and Commissioner McBride, specifically with respect to kind of what the operational implications are.
As far as the collection of data relative to local permits, I think that's something, one of the things that is asked as far as their plan to remain compliant with local zoning and bylaws. I think that's an extension or that fits within the spirit of that section. I think we can clarify at that point. It is something, and actually Commissioner Doyle raised a point that is, I think, relevant here, which is compliance is not something we will check once a year upon renewal. It is something that's ongoing as well. And so I think folding things into the inspectional process, and also I think using the renewal process as a reminder for ourselves to evaluate when's the last time we were in that facility. Has it been a while? Is it something we should focus on? And making sure that you have the information to evaluate a renewal application completely. I think inspectional elements are certainly relevant there. So I think from a data collection standpoint, it is not a burden or a lift of our part to add information to the application. I think wanting to provide licensees adequate notice of our intention to collect
Sure.
information, and to Commissioner McBride's point as far as our ability to audit, that is something that is ongoing and runs with the license as well. It's something that will arm ourselves with the information we need to conduct a full audit relative to patient supply. That is something that is a real, I think, key piece of any inspection we conduct in a co-located facility. Patient supply as well as patient access to the facility are two things that are paramount to any inspection. Again, adding something to the guidance, I think, is the appropriate step, if that's the Commission's desire, and then reacting accordingly with the application is something we can do.
So a couple comments. First of all, thank you for that. Second, one of the things I was very pleased to see in the staff report on renewals was the frequency of inspections.
Sure.
So I think it's just really important, and thanks to the investigations and enforcement team. It's great that we're actually going out on a regular basis, doing some unscheduled inspections. It's exactly what we said we were going to do in our regulations, but it's great to see it happening in reality. So to me, that's the most important enforcement mechanism we have, and thank you for that. Second, unless there's any objection, I do think that we can ask for modified guidance to be discussed at a subsequent meeting, hopefully a relatively soon one, given that this is real time. Commissioner McBride, you said that you thought you had a suggestion with respect to how we could handle the ones that are on the table today in terms of conditions. Would you mind making your recommendation?
If we want to go through the renewals and then.
I'd rather
Sure.
kind of talk about the process, and then we, I think, go through it, so if you don't mind.
So I would add two conditions to the renewals that we are considering today. And they would be as follows. One, that all co-located medical and adult use retail marijuana establishments shall, within 60 days, submit the licensee's policies and procedures for ensuring maintenance of a sufficient quantity and variety of marijuana products for patients consistent with the requirements of 935 CMR 500.14010, and I'll provide this language. And second, that all co-located medical and adult use retail marijuana establishments shall, within 60 days, provide the licensee's policies and procedures for determining what qualifies as a reasonable substitution for a marijuana product under 935 CMR 500.14010. This is intended to collect that information and to make it available so that when our inspections team is out doing inspections, moving forward with audit authority, that there's something to compare against. That if they have data points, there's something to compare against. And it's also because we intentionally placed these provisions into the regulations with the understanding that there would have to be a building of data in co-located establishments, and a determination of what an adequate supply would look like. We put that 35% number in there also, for 6 months of data. So I think we're at a point now where establishments should be able to develop these policies and procedures and actually be able to put pen to paper and tell us how they are implementing that requirement.
Any comments or questions to Commissioner McBride on that suggested, those two suggested conditions? Mr. Exec Director, any thoughts about that?
I think to Commissioner McBride's point, I think it's something that, as I indicated, as far as our inspectional process, it is a paramount and key component of that, and I think any information we can use. And also, one thing that's worth mentioning in the context here is a lot of this information is information we already have from a metric standpoint, and so reconciling it is another tool that we would be able to use
Right.
and leverage. And also, when patients do inquire with the commission about things like patient supply, it'll give us something to return to on the from the licensee standpoint to confirm their compliance with their own plans. So,
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to suggest something, and if any commissioner wants to push back, please, obviously, not that I need to tell you you can do it, but please push back. As I said, there are 13 here. I would propose that we vote on the roster unless there are one or more that people would like to separate for discussion. So I'm happy to first ask, are there any that people feel like need to be separated rather than voted on as a roster? Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull out Cultivate Holdings LLC, license
Both.
number MRR 205524,
Okay.
retail renewal, separately from the roster.
Fine. Any others? Commissioner McBride, title?
My comments generally relate to the positive impact and diversity plans, which were generally the same across the licenses. So I'd like to talk about each licensee separately.
Okay, well then I guess we'll go through them individually. Nice try, Steve.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Title.
sorry, I did also have a comment about process.
Yes, please.
So there may already be an explanation from the staff, or this may just be something that you can take into consideration at your discretion. And let me first just thank you for all of your work on this, and the renewal process that you came up with is really intuitive and thorough, so thank you. So the only, I guess, open question that I had is throughout the year, if there were complaints from patients or customers or employees. I know that compliance is ongoing and suitability is ongoing, but it seems like having a double check at the time of renewal to look back and see if there had been complaints and follow up if necessary. Is that something that's already being addressed?
from time to time, I think on a pretty regular basis, the commission may receive inquiry, commissioners that we may interpret as a complaint. We also attempt to monitor anything that might come in through email, anything that comes from the commission's social media. And it really serves as a valuable tool for us to focus some of those inspections. Some inspections are the direct result of a complaint, others may focus us and start to think about policy needs or guidance needs that the commission will consider. So throughout the year, we absolutely receive. I'm not speaking to the mic either. So throughout the year, we absolutely receive complaints and attempt to chase them down as best as possible. Sometimes it's tough to decipher one, either consumer experience or patient experience into a broader policy approach or a facility approach. But it also might be an opportunity for us to speak with staff at the facility. And so the result might just be a conversation with the entity to say, this came up, wanted to flag it. What are your policies and procedures around patient access? So it is not something, I think we could certainly quantify a total volume of complaints that are received. I think what is sometimes difficult is we'll listen to anybody and anything and try to run it down and prioritize it. Sometimes it yields an investigation as well. And I think it would be tough to kind of quantify that necessarily in this context. But if it's something that would yield a concern relative to a regulatory violation, that is something we will investigate. It might result in a number of things. A notice of deficiencies to the facility, which then requires a plan of correction back to us. But also that plan of correction or that notice of deficiency may be the basis for which there might be a license action taken as well. So I guess it's something that is absolutely under consideration by us. We would have to, I think, explore how best to quantify it in the context of renewal. Make sure, again, that you have the information you need to make a full decision But I'll take that under advisement with staff to figure out how best and most appropriately to do it. But I think if anyone were to complain to us in any way, we'll run it down every time.
So we need to lock this down. We need to lock down our renewal process. I think this is a very constructive conversation. I think we need to make decisions based upon this constructive conversation, but we need to lock this down. This is real time. I will point out that as opposed to denying somebody a provisional license, here if we deny a renewal and their license expires, they're out of business, or at least temporarily out of business. So we owe it to the industry, we owe it to ourselves to lock this down. So I think that we need to think carefully about what we do with 13 today. To the extent we are changing guidance or adding data requests to this, we have got to lock that down as quickly as possible. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are with respect to timing, Mr. Executive Director, but I think this is quite mission critical in my opinion.
So specific to Commissioner McBride's conditions, I guess I'm making an assumption, so I'm seeking some clarity here.
Sure.
I think those conditions will also be accompanied, it sounds like at the next meeting, by updated guidance to
Yeah.
match those conditions.
Well, after my slight rant, let me parse it. So guidance, we will discuss. You're comfortable we can have a draft, discuss, and approve at our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, Commissioner McBride?
So the guidance that we already have, really, it's a matter of adding one.
No, I understand. I
Yeah,
just, I
so
want.
that should, I mean, I have that drafted. That will not be
Okay.
a problem.
Okay.
Staff can,
Okay.
include that as they need to.
The conditions that Commissioner, thank you, the conditions that Commissioner McBride suggested, I think, don't slow down our process at all. So I don't think that creates any hardship. Go ahead, Commissioner
I'd
McBride.
just like to add, so the reason that I suggest approaching it in this way is I think, it's to address some of the concerns that I think are implicit. And it's to make sure that as we start our first round of renewals, everyone is on the same page and that we are moving forward in the same way, which is why with the renewals that are before us today, I would suggest a condition, and then I would suggest putting all licensees on notice that
That's
as
gonna
they
be required.
renew, that these are going to be the policies.
No,
that we're going to
I think
support.
that's a perfect solution to the issue and concern I raised. So that's fine. But the third topic that's come up now is Commissioner Title's request for information about complaints. Commissioner Title?
I'm fully satisfied by the executive director's response. I would just ask you to, at your discretion, just consider for the future when there's more licenses and future commissioners that quantifying it will probably make sense.
And if I may.
Go ahead,
I think
Mr. Executive Director.
To that point, it's what I guess the reason I'm attempting to be somewhat nuanced here, or I should say, in my response is that I would not want to put just a raw data point to say, we've received 25
No,
complaints
I agree with that.
about X facility, because it might be 25 complaints that were, or one complaint that was received 25 times.
Right.
Or it may be that it resulted in a notice of deficiencies, or it resulted in nothing necessarily. And I wouldn't want to assign that to a licensee without any sort of.
So can I ask for clarification then, because I agree with your nuance. Commissioner Title, are you asking for the data to be collected for the purpose of analysis or for the purpose of evaluation of renewals, or both?
I'm not making a specific request. I'm just making a suggestion. And if it was quantified, of course, it would make sense to also include that kind of relevant context, like how many people made it and how it was followed up on.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that we have a plan, which is I think we need to go through the 13. These are, now I'm just talking about adult use. We're going to get into the 8 medical separately, but the 13 adult use we'll go into today. To the extent that I ask for a motion to approve, it will be with the 2 conditions suggested by Commissioner McBride for those co-located facilities. I'm going to try one more time if I could. Cultivate Holdings, Commissioner Flanagan has asked us to take aside, and you're talking about MRR 205524, correct? Retail. Commissioner Title, I would like to at least ask if there are specific renewal applications where you have issues or concerns about the either diversity or disproportionately impacted community program. Can we bring those aside and then deal with the others as a roster?
Some of them are more extensive than others,
I-
but I have comments on all of them.
On all of them? Okay, well, I guess then we have to go through them all separately. So then, let me start, and we'll go through this in sequence. Cultivate Holdings, LLC, MCR 139823. Let me get this up on the screen, sorry. Which is cultivation. Any concerns before I ask for a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the one question I have for our licensing team is that they could get some clarification with regards to the positive impact plan if the partnership program has been implemented or if there has been progress towards implementing that plan. In reading their update, I didn't exactly see where that piece of it fell into.
Are you suggesting we defer?
No,
Okay.
I'm just
Like
asking for more
clarification.
information.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Charles, you said you had a comment on every one. Let's ask for your comments on this one, please.
Okay, so similarly, I'd be asking for more information as a condition. And let me note first that the earliest licensees, I think, had less of an idea of what we were looking for in terms of the diversity plan and positive impact plan. But as a group, the progress that they showed was robust, and they took it really seriously, so I appreciate it. But that said, I still do have some comments, and I am going to take my time with them, because I think once we started making comments about the positive impact plan, the quality of them went way, way up, and I think we can do the same thing here. So, and I'll address, if it's okay, both of the first two licenses, because
Sure.
they had the same.
Please go ahead.
The same plan. So the positive impact plan largely revolved around contributions that were made, but it lumped together the amount as being donated to both local charities and the Commission Social Equity Fund once developed, but it didn't say how much to each. So, the other issue is that the charities that were listed, it's not clear how those charities serve disproportionately harmed communities. There is one sentence that says many of those that the charity serves are present or past residents of areas of disproportionate impact, but I don't know how they know that. So I would just ask for two questions to be answered as a condition. One is, how did they determine that those charities make a positive impact on disproportionately harmed communities? And two, if they could clarify the different amounts going to the different charities.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the two Cultivate Holding applications for renewal?
Yes. On the diversity plan, they did a really great job explaining their progress toward their goals. Just one thing I wanted more information on is that they said they conducted sensitivity trainings for their employees, and I would just like more information on those, what those trainings entail.
So, unless there are any other comments, let us talk about Cultivate Holdings LLC, MCR 139823, which is a renewal application for cultivation. I'm going to try to make sure I've got this right. The motion that I am going to ask for is a motion to approve the renewal of this license subject to the conditions imposed or suggested by Commissioners Title and Flanagan. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Let the record show that the motion was made by Commissioner Doyle, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show that the recommendation to approve the renewal for MCR 139823 cultivation with the conditions discussed was approved unanimously by the Commission. Let me ask, please, for a motion to...
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, just a short statement.
Sure.
I have concerns about Cultivate Holdings, MRR 205524, the retail piece of this. I think that, you know, in our memo with regards to renewal, it talks about not being a detriment to the safety, health, or welfare of the public. I think some of the actions that have been complained about from patients and from customers do say that they have been detrimental to the health, and that I have real concerns about them going forward.
Thank you. Can we hear from the investigations team with respect to any concerns or observations with respect to these issues?
Just that we investigate the patient complaints. Some of them are still pending, so I can't discuss a pending investigation.
Okay. I was going to propose a motion to approve the renewal application for Cultivate Holdings MRR 205524 with the conditions suggested by you and Commissioner Title. Would you propose an alternative?
No.
Okay, then can I have such a motion, please? Yeah, yes.
This is a retail, so it should include Commissioner McBride's.
I'm sorry, yeah, just please, if you could just continue to tell me which one of these are co-located, I'd really appreciate it. I should know that, and I probably would, but thank you. So let me instead ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation or to approve the retail renewal application for Cultivate Holdings LLC MRR 205524, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners McBride, Title, and Flanagan.
I'd actually like to have just a little more discussion on it.
Fine.
So I definitely hear Commissioner Flanagan on her concerns, and I think I share them. I do think it is possible for us to move forward with the renewal, but encourage, a tight eye on what is happening not only with Cultivate, but with other establishments in terms of their conduct, particularly with regard to co-located facilities and how they are serving patients now that they have adult use.
I think we got to be more specific than that. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think we can go forward with renewal, but emphasize the fact that our inspections team is actively engaged in investigating these complaints, and we encourage them to do so. But we will continue to let the Cultivate and other entities operate with the likely, possible outcome that they will be sanctioned, that they may have other, but at this point, I don't think we have sufficient information to actually deny renewal.
I appreciate that. And my concern or question back to you is, why is this different than any other licensee, which is that we are going to inspect and we are going to ensure that all of our regulations are
That's
being
why I said
adhered to.
other licensees as well.
Yeah, so, but why would we need to put in, what are you suggesting we do additionally other than?
Nothing.
Nothing,
We're
okay.
just discussing it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were suggesting in addition to the.
No, I wanted to talk about it more.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
go ahead, Commissioner Flanagan.
I think the important piece to understand here, and what we can do is put everyone on notice in Massachusetts, is that we have tools in our toolbox to be able to sanction or take other actions if we see fit, and that the inspectors and Patrick's team have been working diligently to really follow up with the complaints that we've received. It's just unfortunate, and I have grave concerns about how this entity has been operating in Massachusetts. Given that fact, I understand that renewal is separate from any action that we take afterwards, but I think that they do need to understand that we are taking this seriously. We are ensuring that they're operating the way that they should be. And if there are concerns, then we should be able to voice them in a public forum with the understanding that we have the tools to use should we need them.
I can't disagree with that, obviously, other than I just want to reemphasize that we're going to enforce all of our regulations, including the ones here in our inspection team. I have complete confidence in their ability to uncover and investigate and make appropriate recommendations for any violations of any of our regulations. Okay, so can then I ask for the motion, or restate the motion that I asked for, which is to approve the renewal of Cultivate Holdings LLC MRR 205524 retail, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Title, Flanagan, and McBride.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Let the record show that the renewal was approved by a vote of 4 in favor, Commissioners McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Title, with Commissioner Flanagan voting nay. Thank you. So can we talk about the 3 alternative therapies group applications with respect to diversity and impact plans? Commissioner Title?
The progress towards the impact plan was great. It was centered around hiring, and they were very quantitative and qualitative in their demonstration of the progress. On the diversity plan, I had one confusion. They had some key metrics, which were totally satisfactory by my reading, but they stated that they do not formally ask staff to self-identify to any of the diversity categories. They said this year, ATG should reach over 100 employees, and as such, will be required to report this data to the Employment Opportunity Commission. When this becomes a requirement, we will ask employees to optionally self-identify to these demographics. So my question is, why aren't they doing that now? And if they're not doing that now, then where did the key metrics come from? So I guess I would want to just add a condition that they provide an update with an answer to those questions.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns about the 3 alternative therapy group applications? Okay. So the retail will be subject to, it's co-located, so it'll be subject to Commissioner McBride, but the other 2 will not be subject to Commissioner McBride's condition. Is that right? So I'd like to ask, please, for a motion to approve the renewal of Alternative Therapy Groups Incorporated MCR 139822 for cultivation, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner McBride.
So moved.
Excuse me, Commissioner Title, I apologize.
So moved. Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approves the renewal of MCR 139822. Next, let me ask for a motion, please, to approve the renewal of MPR 243478, Alternative Therapy Groups Incorporated, for product manufacturing, subject to condition requested by Commissioner Title.
So moved.
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MPR 243478. Let me next ask for a motion to approve the renewal of MR 205522, Alternative Therapy Groups Incorporated, Retail, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Title, plus the condition requested by Commissioner McBride for co-located facilities. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MRR 205522. Thank you. Commissioner Title, would you care to comment on the 3 Sierra Natural renewal applications, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With regard to the positive impact plans, they did a great job demonstrating the positive impact that their accelerator program had made and quantifying it with participant feedback. The only thing I'd want to note, and this isn't a condition, it's just a note, that it was the same across 3 licenses. I would expect to see that if they have an accelerator program with only 2 participants, that they would have more participants as there are more licenses being renewed. And then, that was just a note, but a condition with regard to their diversity plan, it's very much in progress, and I think that's totally understandable. They recognized, I think, that they haven't reached the goals that they set for themselves, and so they have collected proposals for strategic planning and execution of a diversity initiative that they want to implement, that they expect to receive, or that they have received and are reviewing currently. So with that in mind, given that they didn't make progress towards their goals, but they have put an action plan in place, can we add a condition that Sierra Natural submit a progress report 3 months after renewal with the update on their diversity initiative?
Okay. Any other comments or requests for conditions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Flanagan?
I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that Sierra mentioned that while they were one of the early applicants, they had updated their positive impact plan to conform to our latest guidance, which I appreciate the fact that they're paying attention to that and that we really could make a positive impact in the communities that they serve.
Great, thank you. And I just second that opinion. So I'm going to ask for three motions on zero. There's no co-location here, so it would just be, all three of these would be subject to Commissioner Title's request for condition. So first, MCR 139821, which is a renewal for cultivation for Sierra Natural. Can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the renewal, subject to Commissioner Title's request for an additional condition?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MCR 139821. Let me next ask for a motion to approve the renewal of MXR 126654, which is Sierra Natural Incorporated third-party transporter. Again, let me ask for a motion to approve the renewal subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Tittle.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MXR 126654, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Tittle. Let me next ask for a motion, please, to approve MPR 243480, Sierra Natural Incorporated product manufacturing renewal, subject to condition requested by Commissioner Tittle. All in favor?
So moved.
Oh, so moved. I'm sorry, Commissioner. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MPR 243480. Thank you. We now have 4 for New England Treatment Access, including 3 retail, all co-located. Is that correct? Which one is the one that is not? I know that Brookline and Northampton are co-located. Which is the one? Which of these 3 are the ones that are not co-located?
There's only 2 retail.
Yeah, Franklin's growing.
Franklin is product manufacturing and cultivation.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it says not.
Well, there's a problem. There's typo on my slide. It does,
yeah.
it does say. See, Commissioner Doyle is saying I'm not fantasizing here, but on my slide, 3 of them are retail. So, but I see we've corrected it on the screen, so that's fine. Commissioner, so we have 4 for New England Treatment Access. Commissioner Tittle, would you care to make comments or requests for conditions on these 4 applications?
Yes. So the positive impact plan was extraordinarily thoughtful. I thought it had several different elements. The demonstration of progress toward them I didn't think matched that same level of detail and thoughtfulness, so I'd like to put a condition requiring an update 3 months after renewal in a few areas. One is the mentorship program, which it looks like is still being developed. Second, in terms of the internship program, it was great to see that they have moved forward with the partnership with Roxbury Community College that formed the basis of their positive impact plan, or a large basis of it. But they only mentioned 2 interns across all of their licenses, and they only provided the job description and the offer letter. They didn't provide anything that showed what benefit was provided to the intern, how that makes a positive impact, or any feedback from the interns. So I'd like to see a follow-up on that program. And then third, there was an element of tours and coaching to economic empowerment applicants, and they did provide some documentation of the tours. I'd like to see more detail on what the coaching program entails.
Anything else?
Yes. Moving on to the diversity plan. It was a very thoughtful diversity plan. I have a couple of requests for updates in the same update after 3 months. One, there was a change in the list of organizations that they would partner with that were in their diversity plan, particularly several organizations that were listed as potential partners for the hiring of people with mental disabilities. That was great to see in the plan. However, they have not provided an update as to any partnership with those organizations. And the statistics that they provided on their diversity progress showed women and different minority groups that did not show people with disabilities. So I'd like to see an update on that. And also, one second. I think there was some confusion because they did talk about a partnership with the Muse Foundation, which is a local Brookline organization that focuses on creating community-based support systems and relationships through music. And they were able to expand their needs-based scholarship and have a bigger impact on the community because of NETA, which is great to see. But that doesn't belong in a diversity plan because it doesn't look like it has any relationship to the diversity of who NETA is hiring. And then lastly, they mentioned that they have commissioned a firm to do an availability analysis so that they can analyze the diversity of their staff and improve it. But there's still, it looks like that hasn't started. They've just commissioned a firm. So I'd like an update on that in 3 months as well.
That's it. Okay. Any other questions or requests for conditions on the 3 or the 4 New England Treatment Access renewal applications? Okay, great. Let's go through them one by one, please. MCR 139825, New England Treatment Access LLC Cultivation. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve their renewal application subject to conditions requested by Commissioner Title. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MCR 139825. Moving on, MRR 205525, New England Treatment Access LLC retail renewal. Let me ask for a motion to approve the renewal application subject to conditions requested by Commissioner Title as well as the conditions requested by Commissioner McBride for co-located facilities.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal application for MRR 205525. Let me next ask for a motion for the approval of the renewal application MRR 205526, New England Treatment Access Retail, subject to conditions requested by Commissioner Title, as well as the conditions requested by Commissioner McBride for co-located retail.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MRR 205526. Let me next ask for a motion to approve the renewal application for MRR 205523, New England Treatment Access LLC, which is product manufacturing, subject to conditions requested by Commissioner McBride, Commissioner Title, excuse me. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MRR 205523. We have, did I get, okay, so there's, my apologies, so my apologies that, I think we need to do that again.
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Do I have the right number here? No, I don't. Okay. But the number was right on this, wasn't it? 24347. No, the number was not right. They got flipped. I need clarification here. So in my materials, the L, New England Treatment Access, is in my book listed as retail, and it's listed as MRR 205523, which is different than what's up there. So I need to know which is the right.
What is on the screen?
What's on screen is right, so what's in my book is wrong. Okay, so I'm going to need to, I think we need to do that motion again, since it was the wrong license number that we voted on. So I would like to ask for a motion to approve the renewal for MPR 24379, which is New England Treatment Access LLC for product manufacturing, subject to conditions requested by Commissioner Title.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the renewal of MPR 243479. Thank you. Next and the last of the adult use renewals is Pharmacanis, Massachusetts, MPR MRR 205523. Can I ask for a...
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, just one question for the licensing team. If we can get some more information, they wrote a $1,000 check to the Oyster Festival, and if they provided any of the data with regards to the attendance of minors to that festival, with regards to the advertising regulations.
Okay. Commissioner Title?
I have very serious concerns about this licensee's understanding of their obligations in order to operate in Massachusetts. The positive impact plan was very general. It stated that it would make contributions and work with local officials to decide what contributions to make in order to make a positive impact on disproportionately harmed communities. What they wrote for their progress towards their plan was, Pharmacanis, Massachusetts has worked collaboratively with officials from the town of Wareham to identify events and causes to which PCM may contribute. Please find attached invoices and copies of checks for events that PCM has contributed to in Wareham. Also included in the attachments are letters from Wareham town officials, including letters from the Director of Planning and Economic Development, Kenneth Buckland, and from the Chief of Police, John Welsick. There's then a list of invoices, and they are in order $11,000, $11,220 for police detail, $79,610 for police detail, $250 to the Wareham Historical Society, $1,200 to Carmichael Art Conservation, which based on the invoice looks to be payment for treatment of a fine painting, $18,480 to the Wareham Police Detail, $250 to Onset Bay Association, and then $1,000 sponsorship, as Commissioner Flanagan mentioned, for an oyster festival, and then the 2 letters referenced. I don't see a explanation of an understanding based on the guidance or any of the other public notices that have been given about positively impacting disproportionately harmed communities.
Any comments?
I
Go ahead, Commissioner
share the
Flanagan.
Commissioner's concerns. I think it's important that, certainly upon renewal, you have to provide, as an entity, information with regards to progress on your positive impact plan and your diversity plan, but at the same time, understanding that we looked at them the first time, we're going to look at them again at renewal. And so it's important that the plans they can be altered. We understand things get altered, communities change, things happen, but the real piece of the positive impact plan is to impact a community, a DIA community, and to make sure that it has an impact. So I would question some of the checks that have been written.
Okay. Are we, can we satisfy this through conditions?
I would
I-
be open to other discussion, but I would say no.
Can I get thoughts on others? Commissioner McBride?
At this juncture, I would tend to agree with Commissioners Title and Flanagan that that doesn't satisfy our requirement, and what we have stated we want for information, in addition to what the regulations actually require. So my understanding, I guess I would ask the Executive Director and our licensing staff, this entity's license does not expire until, I thought I had the date.
I have the date up. Give me a second. It is August 13th, if I'm
So,
correct. August 13th of 2019.
Is that we have a meeting prior to August 13th. Is there the potential for this licensee to provide additional information in a timely fashion? Do we think that that's reasonable and possible?
Can I ask, first of all, the General Counsel's opinion on terms of, are there any legal issues with doing what Commissioner McBride suggested?
Well, I think in terms of process, it would be helpful to consult with licensing enforcement staff in terms of whether they
Okay.
feel as though this would be putting a process in place for this particular applicant. It's not available
Okay.
to other applicants.
Well-
That being said, it's
Let me just, I think I can short circuit, excuse me, I think I can short circuit this. I do not think we're prepared to make that decision right now. I would suggest that we defer a vote on this today. We do have a meeting on August 8th, if I'm correct. Is that the next Public Commission meeting, August 8th? I would suggest we just defer a vote on this until August 8th, do the kind of research that Commissioner
Miss-
McBride was suggesting, and that I think with the help of our general counsel, but I think I believe we're better served by deferring a vote on this today.
I think that it's accurate. I think what my suggestion was is that we do defer a vote on this.
Right.
But I don't think that this is something where it's our research. I think that this is the licensee has some additional
Yeah,
work.
I understand, but
they need to do.
rather than just rush through and today, let's defer it and let's get to let's work with our licensing staff and get to the licensee as quickly as possible.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Flanagan.
my one question is, and believe me, I agree with deferring things to make sure we get them right, but similarly to the previous entity that I spoke about in the beginning, I'm not too sure how much more information this entity is going to be able to give us. The checks are written, the events have happened, the things are already done. So my question is, if you'll let me finish.
Sure,
That we use the tools in our toolbox that we have with the licensing and enforcement division as going forward, that they have to either create a better plan or execute something more efficiently, but I don't see what more information we're going to get from them, except they wrote checks and they thought they were doing well, because I can suspect, and I don't want to speak for them, but the town told them that these are the important things in the town. So for us to put off this process, and I'm not sure how much more information that we're going to get, my consideration would be to vote on the licensee, and then again, let the licensing team and the inspections team use what we have to go in and to investigate this.
I personally don't think there's anything, without disagreeing with anything you just said, I don't think there's any downside to voting on it in 2 weeks. And while you say you don't know what they might be able to do, I don't see the cost of letting them respond and voting in 2 weeks. So I would very strongly recommend that we just defer this action for 2 weeks, or defer a vote on this for 2 weeks. Commissioner Tuttle?
I just wanted to hear the rest of what Councilor Bailey had to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly within, I think we've already said this respectfully, is that it's certainly within your discretion to defer your consideration on the matter before you. So I think that you can do that. I just want to note that licensing enforcement has exercised its discretion and presented before you materials, and so I think their contribution to this analysis is important. So maybe the wisest course in this case is to defer consideration to vote, so that can be adequately accounted for.
So good. Commissioner Tuttle?
Thank you. Could I ask for a break, because I want to be consistent with our earlier decisions when we were at this point?
I'm not sure what break has to do with being consistent with our earlier decisions.
Because I think this has happened, we've been at this point twice before, and I think both times we took a break to talk to the licensing and enforcement staff and to council.
I have no problem with taking a break, but I don't believe we should take a vote on this today. I believe we should defer this. So if somebody wants to make a motion opposite that, I have to welcome it, but we can certainly take a break. So I have 2:30. We'll reconvene at 2:40. But again, I am not going to ask for a motion on this. So if somebody else wants to make a motion, certainly that will be entertained. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're adjourned till 2:40.